General, and I now recognize the Minister to move the vote.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I move vote number 42. Be it resolved that a sum not exceeding $1,013,019,000 be granted to His Majesty to defray the expenses of Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General Ministry operations.
Recognizing the member from Vancouver, Langara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just ask if the Minister could follow up on the two outstanding pieces of information that the Minister had agreed to find out relating to a Civil Resolution Tribunal and criminal matters in respect of bodily injury.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. So on the first part of the member's question, we still have to get that information for you, and we will do that. I gather it is a complicated process, but in terms of the second question, as of May 1st, 2021, there have been 79 enhanced accident benefit disputes with the Civil Resolution Tribunal, a number of which have since been pulled by the applicants. There have been 6 Civil Resolution Tribunal decisions made, 4 of which are about income replacement benefit, and all of which were dismissed.
Member.
Sorry, if I could just ask the Minister to repeat the front part of what he said on CRT. So 6 CRT hearings relating to income replacement benefits, all 6 were dismissed. Okay, if I can just ask the Minister to restate, just we can run that back, the last part of his response.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. So there have been 6 CRT decisions. 4 of those are about income replacement benefits, and they were dismissed.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It does raise a question. So when the Minister says there have been 6 CRT decisions, can I just ask the Minister to clarify over what period of time?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Since the start of enhanced care.
Member.
Since the start of enhanced care for what is close to 2 years now, there have only been 6 CRT proceedings. Is that correct?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. There have been 79 disputes. They have ruled on 6. A number of those were withdrawn by the applicants themselves.
Member.
And just so we have the overall context, Madam Chair, can I ask through you to the Minister, how many complaints have been filed with the Fairness Office of ICBC during the same period of time?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In the last 2 years, there have been approximately 50 to the Fair Practices Office, which reviews administrative fairness.
Member.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the minister's responses, and as we go through the balance here with my colleague, the member from Surrey White Rock, we'll have various points to raise on some of what has been concerns expressed by British Columbians in respect of the no-fault system. Certainly it does underline the point, though, in terms of income replacement disputes. The minister had said, obviously the forum is the Civil Resolution Tribunal. Of the 79 disputes that went forward, 6 went to decision, and 4 of them involved income replacement, of which all 4 claims were denied or dismissed. So there isn't any situation where ICBC actually has awarded any of the injured British Columbians applications for more benefits. They've been denied those more benefits in their situations, and so that is certainly a concern. I wanted to come back to some of the points that we were discussing yesterday, Madam Chair. So the basic concern, of course, is when we talk about the fact that under the first year of no fault, the amount of benefits that were paid out had decreased by $440 million from the year ended 2021 to the year end 2022. And at the same period of time, the minister confirmed that the number of injury claims had increased from 60,000 to roughly 73,900, so an increase of about 15%. The member from Surrey White Rock certainly will get into some of the reasons at the same period of time as to an increase in operational costs for ICBC, which we understand to be in the neighborhood of about $173 million. And so we see a greater dependency, of course, on the adjusters themselves. But I just wanted to go back over and confirm some of the elements here, and perhaps I could just first of all ask to the minister if we look at the change, the minister had suggested that the reason why benefits have been reduced under no fault is that benefits aren't paid in a lump sum, as the minister stated, that they're actually paid over time for as long as the person is requiring the care. Can the minister confirm, though, that under the former system before no fault came in, that Part 7 benefits have always been paid out on an ongoing basis as first-party insurance for a British Columbian injured in a car accident, and that an injured party became entitled to those benefits immediately after the injury, regardless of fault, meaning a negligent driver is entitled to these same benefits. This has been the case since ICBC was formed in 1973. I would ask the minister to confirm that that is the case.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question for the member, and I appreciate him raising the Part 7 benefits that he references. And the reality is that there's a cap on that of $300,000. And today, under enhanced care, the amount you get in benefits is for a significantly longer lifetime, if necessary. A payment is significantly richer. There's just no comparison between the two. So, and again, in terms of income replacement, it's much richer now than it was in the past. I mean, he was right around his initial premise, but the difference, as I said, is around there was a cap then, and there's not a cap. There's not a cap now.
Member.
So, Madam Chair, I appreciate that we're in the estimates process now, and I've had many opportunities to debate with the Premier, the former Attorney General, and he's Minister responsible for ICBC when he was changing all the rules, and I've had my comments about his conflict in that manner. But in any event, what the Minister has just suggested again suggests that the Minister is advocating and suggesting that there is actually increased access to benefits, but then why has the benefit payouts decreased by $440 million in that first year?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question and the comments from the member. And again, I would just point out that the Part 7 that he raised is actually a small proportion of what gets paid out. And as I said yesterday in response to his question, it's because the payments are spread out over time. So it's not a lump sum payment. So under the old system, you would have had a lump sum tort payment, which would have included, legal fees, but also out of that the payment that the individual receives in terms of what benefit they're going to get, of what, to pay for care. Under enhanced care, the benefits are paid out for potentially a lifetime. So they're not done in a lump sum, and that accounts for the difference that the member is talking about.
Member.
So just to confirm that it is ICBC policy then not to pay out any lump sums. Is that the case?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. There are some categories where a lump sum payment is out, such as the permanent impairment benefit.
Member.
So the numbers that we're referring to, of course, just to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, all of that good expression, I would ask the minister through you, Madam Chair, to confirm. When we're talking about the figures that we were referring to yesterday, which is the, for example, I'm just looking back at the Hansard transcript, the one, so for example, in that first year of 2020 to 2021, it was 1.94 billion that was paid out, and then it reduced down to 1.5 billion. So it's a $440 million drop. That those figures that we're referring to include amounts that ICBC pays out to injured parties for their ongoing rehab benefits. That includes figures that are still having ICBC to settle cases under the previous tort and even the CAP system, which were not affected by the introduction, the implementation of no fault. And that, as the minister just confirmed in the way that he said it, that there are some lump sum payments to settle some particular entitlement to benefits, but also there are benefits that are being paid out over time. So are we not still talking about all of the different categories here? So I'd ask through you to the minister to reconfirm again what the difference is.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. And I thank the member for the question. And as I've said in my answers, it has been, we've moved from the tort system to the enhanced care system, and a significant part in the reduction in cost has been that elimination of legal costs, along with the fact that as those are eliminated, it's the healthcare. The enhanced care benefits that are paid out over time, and as I also said, there are those sometimes in particular categories as the catastrophic payment benefit, which is that is a lump sum payment, but the rest is legal costs and enhanced care benefits because they're paid out over time, not in a lump sum.
Member.
Madam Chair, let me just ask the minister if you could just provide to us what percentage of settled injury claims over the last 5 years have been paid out based on an injured claimant's entitlement to future Part 7 benefits, and what percentage has been only settled through a tort claim, leaving the injured claimant's Part 7 benefits open?
Minister.
Honourable Chair, I just asked the member if he could clarify the question. Is he asking for the historical Part 7 benefits in comparison to the enhanced care Part 7 benefits? Is that what he's asking?
Member.
The first part would be in terms of historical, as the minister puts it. And the second part is dealing with what percentage would have been over the same period only settled out for tort claims.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question from the member. So in terms of the historical number, we will get that information for you. But what I can tell you in terms of the 1.5 billion that we have been that you have raised, very little of the historical claim will be in that number.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know that my colleague here would like to pursue some of the points that the minister has raised in terms of benefit payouts and the comparison. So just before I turn it over to the member for Surrey White Rock. I just want to clarify one point, though, that the minister has made here when he, through you, Madam Chair, describes the systems and the differences. Of course, we know that under the previous ICBC system, that British Columbians could seek greater benefit payouts through their third-party liability claims, and that was not capped or limited, other than in the cap system, which was brought in before no fault was brought in. But when we talk about caps on benefits, British Columbians used to have that ability to access greater payouts through the courts. Also, with the current system now, we know, and this is part of some of the challenges that we were discussing yesterday, Madam Chair, and I will take the opportunity to discuss a few more matters to follow, that there are strict limits on income replacement and the way that treatment and benefits are being administered by ICBC. So British Columbians are actually getting less. With that comment, unless the minister would like to make a response to that, I would just turn this over now to the member for Surrey White Rock because he has some particular comments or questions relating to this.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the comments from the member, and I do want to take this opportunity to respond because I actually disagree with the assertion that there are fewer benefits today. For example, and I'm not picking on the member from Prince George Valemont or Prince George Mackenzie, but I know they live in northern British Columbia, and I know that wildlife collisions are potentially a very serious issue, particularly a moose. That is one big animal. And under the old system, if you were the driver and you had that accident, the maximum benefit you could get is $300,000. That is not going to last you if you are catastrophically injured or even a major injury. That's all you're going to get. So you're not going to get a lifetime of care if necessary. Under the enhanced care system, you will. In terms of the member references the courts. They don't give out US-style settlements, and the member knows that the settlements are typically in line with what the average person has in insurance, which is often between, roughly $2 to $5 million in most cases. That's where most people are. And that would be the settlements. And out of that would come the legal fees, probably a third. And again, depending on the nature of the injury, that doesn't necessarily leave you a lot if you need lifetime care or really complex care. That's why the under enhanced care, the benefits, they last as long as you need that care. They're better benefits and less expensive insurance.
Recognizing the member from Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can the minister say what was the average bodily injury claim size the year before no fault? So maybe I'll ask it this way: can the minister tell us per year, so 2018, 2019, 2020, what was the average ICBC claim? So average years for 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Minister?
Thank you. Sure, we're just getting the information, members, so if you wanted to ask another question, or if you wanted to, whatever, we're good not to.
Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So maybe I think I've got the answers that I asked for. Maybe if they can get validated, that might be helpful. So in 2018 calculation, $6,812. 2019, $6,483. 2020, $5,009. So in the interest of time, I'm pretty confident those numbers are approximately accurate. But would staff be able to confirm that in short order, or?
Minister?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think those numbers are accurate, but we're doing a validation on them. But 6812, 6480, 2018 6812, 2019 6483, 2020 5009.
Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the Minister and his staff. I'll just get him to confirm one other number, see if it's accurate. 2021 ICBC average spend per claim, $3,083. For 2021, $3,083.
Minister?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just want to clarify, if the member can clarify, are you talking about injury and vehicle claim together? Are you talking about both?
Member?
I thank you, Madam Chair. I believe I'm just asking about specific to injury claim.
Minister?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would say yes, that's accurate. But I also would point out that the numbers the member are using are Part 7 numbers, not the whole numbers.
Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the Minister for clarifying that and validating those numbers. So if you look at 2018, 2019, and 2020, the numbers we've just cited, and then you look at 2021 following no fault, injury claims paid out to people, people that have suffered through a motor vehicle accident, that's quite a dramatic reduction, I would think, if you compare 2018, 2019, 2020 to 2021. Some years that's over 50%, right? And so when we talk about the term enhanced care, and we talk about the fact that this government cited that the reduction in legal costs, it doesn't seem from these numbers as they play out that that has been passed on to the people that need that support at a time that is vitally crucial. So how does the minister reconcile the fact that there is that big of a, if the minister's talked about cost savings, and the fact is that now we are seeing those savings aren't passed on to the people that are injured. And we'll talk about operating expenses later, but what does the minister tell somebody that is in a motor vehicle accident that has seen averages come down upwards of 50%?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question from the member. again, the idea that there's a reduction in benefits is simply not the case. Under the Part 7, there's the cap, and so you would reach a cap of, let's say, the ultimate cap is 300,000, and that's it. So people captured in those earlier years, they're into that Part 7 that goes to the 300,000, then that's it. In the later years, you're in enhanced care, and those benefits continue through to, as long as you need them, in some cases, for a lifetime. And that's the difference between the two.
Member from Vancouver, Langara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're just trying, obviously, to get clarity on this system now that it's been in place. There's been, my recollection, about 2.5 years of debate in the House on ICBC reform, and through many bills, legislations that proved to be unconstitutional at times as well. But and I know there's current challenges that I'll speak to later by British Columbians as to the constitutionality of this whole system that's been implemented here. But Madam Chair, the Minister did confirm, though, even when we're talking about Part 7 benefits, that there has been a reduction in the amount that has been paid out. Certainly, as the member from Surrey White Rock indicated, the 3,000, again, down from 6,800 in 2018, 6,483 in 2019, 2020, $5,009, and now in 2021, $3,083. So this is a point of reference. ICBC, of course, we know, has increased its administration expenditures. Again, a question that, series of questions the member from Surrey White Rock will get into in a moment. But we would have thought that with the analysis that's being provided here, we'll get greater clarity on these figures. The Minister has made reference to the 300,000 limit on Part 7 benefits. And could I ask through you, Madam Chair, I know this is a point that I've had opportunity to canvass with the Premier as a former Attorney General, but just as a reference point here, because the Minister has on a number of occasions here repeated or cited again that limit. Can we ask, though, in the year before, for example, no fault was introduced or implemented, how many British Columbians would have been limited by the $300,000 limit on Part 7 benefits?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thankfully, it's not a huge number. It's about under 50 a year. But for those 50, catastrophic injury and life-changing, the $300,000 will not last very long. And it's incorrect to say that under enhanced care that it's reduced benefits, because it's not. It is not reduced benefits. It is benefits for people who need care for as long as they need it, not until the settlement runs out. And I think that that's important to get that on the record. I also just want to also say, I know the members has given some numbers, and we have done our best to validate them. The last number I am going to double check on, but within the discussion that we are having, I think I've made it clear that the difference between the old system and enhanced care, one of the significant savings is the elimination of the legal fees, and that benefits are paid out over a longer, over potentially a lifetime. And then in the case of Section 7, which we have been discussing, that is a significant change.
Member.
Madam Chair, I appreciate that this is an opportunity, of course, to in estimates, review with the minister responsible for ICBC the impacts financially or otherwise. Obviously, we know there's emotional, mental, psychological, all sorts of harm to British Columbians when they're in any bodily injury type accident, certainly catastrophic automobile accidents as well. I was just looking back, Madam Chair, at some of the points of reference I had back from my debates with the Attorney General back then. And when we had a discussion, we had a heated discussion around a scenario that the Attorney General had raised relating to a child on a bike who runs a stop sign and is struck by a car. I won't go back into the details around that particular scenario that we went through, but I do know that there were learnings for both of us through that when the minister did clarify that, and just as a point of reference here in terms of what this minister is referring to, at that time the Attorney General had indicated that there were about 35 cases per year that might be subject to a limit on Part 7 benefits when it was at the $150,000 level. And that in any given year, there were approximately 100,000 bodily injury claims made every year to ICBC. And we know, of course, that even under the old system, as we've discussed here, that these individuals, these 35 individuals, or the 50 individuals that the minister is referring to, would have had access to, through tort claims, to ensure that their care and wage loss needs were covered over and above and beyond the Part 7 benefits. But I think obviously, Madam Chair, we could have that debate here back and forth. All I'm trying to get clarity on with the member from Surrey White Rock is identification of the base level as this government and the minister refers to increased benefits, which from what we see many examples reported in the media or to ourselves, constituents who come to us with concerns about how ICBC is functioning and the fact that they don't see greater access to benefits. Let me ask through you, Madam Chair, to the Minister another question in terms of data. Could I ask the Minister, what was the average bodily injury claim size for the year before no fault and the year after? And what does ICBC estimate to be its average bodily claim payout in the years to come?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question from the member. What I'm able to give him at this point is the global numbers, and I also want to make it clear. There's also a number of variables that have come that, particularly in a couple of those years, as he would be obviously well aware. So in 2019, the total bodily injuries and vehicle collision, vehicle crash, the whole thing. Is 6.5 billion. That's in 2019. It goes to 5.9 in 2020, which was the first year of the RAP. It goes to 3.3 in 2021, which also included the RAP, but which also included COVID. And there was a lot of, as the member will know, reduction in accidents during that year. And then in 2022, the total is 2.5 billion, and that's under enhanced care. But the bottom line is this, is that with the elimination of the legal fees and the benefits now extending for a lifetime, not just a short time or in a lump sum, that's who's benefiting, people who are injured, because now they are getting better benefits than they had before. That's how the system works. It works in Saskatchewan, it works in Manitoba, and it works here.
Just to clarify, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the minister's response, but the minister responded in a manner that referred to total amounts. I was asking for the average bodily injury claim size, both in the year before no fault was implemented and the year after. Does the minister have those figures available to us?
Minister.
Okay, thank the member for the question, and we are trying to get the best numbers for the member. So, in 2020, the average injury claim was approximately about $40,000. That, of course, would include. You would have to also include the tort fees and the court fees that would be part and parcel of that. For 2022, the estimate, and this is just an estimate, we're looking at probably about 22,000, and that may well go up.
Member.
And I appreciate, Madam Chair, the efforts of the minister and his team to address the questions that the member from Surrey White Rock and myself have to try and get at the points of comparison. Appreciate that. But I'll just make this observation. Again, the minister can respond, but then turn it back over to the member from Surrey White Rock. Just in terms of the round figures, let's say, that the minister utilized, we know that the government has said in the past that the so-called legal fees and expenditures relating to the tort system may account for 30%. So 30% of 40,000, here we're seeing almost a 50% reduction, let's say. So there seems to be a gap in the round numbers that the minister has provided, which would again suggest that after no fault's been introduced, there's a lower amount for these benefit claims. Again, just demonstrating that. Again, the minister may choose to respond to that, but I'm just going to turn it back over to the member from Surrey White Rock. Right? I mean, it's just.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I will take the opportunity to respond, because I do think it's important that the numbers that we're talking about, you have to be very careful in terms of how you compare them, because you are dealing with the old system where that 40,000, if that was the average cost of a claim, for example, that does not go into, that's not what the individual claimant gets. Out of that is a third in legal fees, a third in any other costs that have been part and parcel of having to get that settlement, the time that may have elapsed in order to get that settlement. with the elimination of the legal fees, what policyholders, the motoring public has seen with their insurance is a significant savings on their insurance, which is what people wanted to see. At the same time, knowing that the benefits they get are the benefits they need on the basis of medical experts for as long as, for as long as they need them. You're not having to worry about a cap. You're not having to worry about a catastrophic injury. And there's a whole range of that is just straight fact that you have better benefits. That's how the enhanced care system works, whether it's here in this province, whether it's in Manitoba, or whether it's in Saskatchewan. And at the end of the day, that's what people want.
Recognizing the member from Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just going back a few moments ago, the minister cited, I think it was 6.5 billion 2019, 5.9 billion 2020, 3 billion 2021 in terms of payouts. When you look at the reported collisions by ICBC, the numbers that we have show in 2020, 225,000 reported collisions. 2021, 260,000 reported collisions. So we look at the numbers and we, not to dwell on it, but when we talked about the benefits payout, so in 2020, I believe it was $5,009 paid out on average. 2021, $3,083 paid out on average. So I think that's part of the gap we're seeing when we talk about enhanced care. We're talking about, and we've seen, I think even the Premier referenced it in a media veil a number of months ago in terms of the stories that were coming forward to various constituencies, whether it was somebody, I believe there was a gentleman that was hit by a stolen car, injured quite severely, and had trouble getting ICBC to provide support directly for that person. Even down the street from my constituency office, we had a car go through a four-way stop. It actually went into somebody's house, and ICBC refused to cover it. They wanted the Strata Insurance to pay for it. This guy was at the Legion throwing darts. He came home. There was a car in his living room. And it was an absolute nightmare in terms of trying to get repairs done to his house through a motor vehicle accident. I spoke on this publicly. I think the minister did as well. So can the minister reconcile the fact is that we have reported accidents, collisions, 260,000 in 2021, with roughly 3 billion paid out in 2021. Compare that in 2020, 225,000 collisions reported with a payout of 5.9 billion. So we've done the math and we've canvassed with this minister, but would the minister not acknowledge that there's some significant gaps here in terms of benefits to people? I know that he's hearing these stories as well, but how do we close that gap?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I'll make a couple of observations in the members' comments. First off, in terms of the accident rate, the reason the accident rate is down is because of COVID. The second, there is really no gap. The reality is that the difference the member's talking about is money that didn't go into people's pockets. It went into lawyers' pockets. That's the difference. And under the old system, you had to have two people in order to have the suit, in order to sue. Now, under enhanced care, everyone is covered. Everyone is covered and able can get the same benefits, regardless of whether it's an individual, in a single vehicle accident with a deer or as a moose, as I outlined earlier, or two people in an accident, in a terrible accident on the freeway here in the Lower Mainland or on the island. The benefits are better, and they are for a lifetime. And the elimination of legal fees has allowed that to happen.
Recognizing the member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, and welcome to the chair. Here's the problem. I would accept that on face value, but it's not backed up by facts. And I'll read them again. Is 2018, $6,812 paid out on average. 2019, $6,483 paid out on average. 2020, $5,000 paid out on average. 2021, first year no fault, $3,083 paid out on average. Now, from the minister's answer there, you would think that the minister referenced the saving on legal fees. Okay? So if you would think that you're having those dramatic savings on legal fees, whether it's from the person representing one victim to the other, or the person responsible for the crash, you would think that those savings would be passed on to the person injured in the motor vehicle accident. These numbers do not back that up in any way possible. So the minister can talk about Section 7, he can talk about enhanced care, but the fact of the matter is these numbers don't back it up. You've got, in 2021, $3,083 paid out on average post no fault. The year prior, just over $5,000. Year prior to that, just over $6,400. Year prior to that, almost $7,000. What the minister is saying isn't backed up by the numbers that are being put out. The fact is that benefits are dramatically down to those that need them in a motor vehicle. And we see this quite often in news stories and letters and emails and meetings. It's there. We see it. The numbers back it up. So I understand what the minister is trying to say, but the numbers put forward here that he's validated earlier today do not back that up in any possible way.
Minister.
Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question, and I understand where the member's coming from, but I want to make a couple of points clear. First off, in terms of the numbers he keeps using, we have not been able to validate them. They sounded fine at the beginning when they were mentioned, but they're not being able to be validated. What we can validate is the 40,000 on the average that I mentioned a moment ago, and the 22,000. And the issue in terms of the 40,000 is that is not money, as I said a moment ago, that goes to people's pockets. Out of that comes all the legal fees, which is about often a third, the other costs that are associated with that, and so that was pre-enhanced care. What we're looking at in terms of the 22,000 is the estimate, and what we can also again come back to, enhanced care, the benefits are better. They last for as long as they're required, in many cases for a lifetime. It's a fact. And so, I understand the questioning because we get this every estimates, and the only thing I can think of is, do you want to scrap enhanced care and go back to the old tort system? Is that what you're wanting to do? Because it would be really helpful if we know that's your position, that would be great. The reality is that we have enhanced care. It's giving lower insurance rates. And I know the members' constituents like having lower insurance rates, and they also like knowing that they will have benefits and for as long as they're required. And if it's a catastrophic injury, unlike previously, for example, in the Part 7s we talked about, where it's 300,000, now it is unlimited.
Member for Vancouver-Langara.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your checking in with the Minister and his team, and I would invite the Minister to consider at least till 5:30 the record of his colleague, the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, where they did not take any breaks over a 4-hour period, both in supplemental and in estimates. And that was important to me because I had the full opportunity to continue to have good debate and discussion. I'm actually serious about that. But anyways, I will say, though, there's a number of points, Mr. Chair, that we can keep going back and forth on, and I appreciate the Minister's counterpoints, let's say. I would say, though, among the many points the Minister has made, that of course we also know that under this no-fault system, that regardless of fault, you're all treated the same. If you were the driver responsible for the harm, you get the same level of benefits as the person who's completely 100% innocent. So, there's aspects of this model that clearly are unfair, and I've spoken to that in the past. I would say, in response to the Minister, that we have discussed here in the time that we've had trend lines that clearly, in the first set of figures that the member from Surrey White Rock set out a number of times, there's a decreasing trend line. Even in the Minister's response to us, in terms of the $40,000 to the $22,000 figure, there's still a trend line down. As to how we parse that through and break it up, there can be continued discussion about that. But our point is that clearly there's a decrease in the amounts that are being paid out, whichever way you want to describe it. And so in the first case, when we're talking about how there's something that's being enhanced here, clearly we're not seeing it. In terms of the actual benefits, I know that the Minister has referred to the moose analogy, and I appreciate that for the members in central and northern British Columbia, including our colleagues for the Peace River districts as well. I've certainly been on close calls in their vehicles, in their trucks. I appreciate what can happen, but as we know, of course, in the Lower Mainland, in the ridings that the member from Surrey, White Rock, and myself represent, in Surrey and Vancouver, for example, and the Minister's own area in the Tri-City area, that you don't have as many moose roaming the streets that we have to be careful about running into. There's other comments about other animals here, but the point is that, and as unfortunate as that situation may well be, it doesn't preclude, of course, this model of no fault from providing for greater benefits for those who are involved in the catastrophic injuries. So I just want to come back to the discussion we were having yesterday when I referred to the case of Ms. Tasha Wong. And I know that the minister, I acknowledge that the minister would commit to looking into further some of the individual cases that I've cited yesterday of their challenges with the ICBC no-fault model. But we know, of course, that the minister refers to the fact that he, in his view, that when they canvass the experience of British Columbians with this model, that he's getting positive feedback. We're not seeing that, though. So I'd ask through you, Mr. Chair, to the minister, on what basis is the minister suggesting that British Columbians are satisfied with the ICBC no-fault model?
Members, we will recess briefly. I call Committee of Supplies Section A back to order. We are considering the budget estimates for the Ministry of Public Safety Solicitor General, recognizing the Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So in 2021 actuals, in terms of satisfaction, it was for insurance services, 96%, for claim services, 89%, for driver licensing services, 91%.
Member Vancouver Langara.
Can I just ask the minister through you, Mr. Chair, for the parameters on that study, meaning how many respondents and how was that survey done? And does ICBC, are they doing presumably what the insurance corporation is suggesting, a customer satisfaction survey? Can the minister just provide a bit more detail around what this is?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So for insurance services, it's about 5,000 people. For satisfaction for claims, about 13,000. And for licensing, it's about 5,000. And it's pretty much, it's done by, nearly all by phone.
Member.
Tail end, Mr. Chair, of what the minister was saying, it's nearly done by, I didn't quite hear what he said, but just to say as well, though, what percentage does that represent in terms of the universe that ICBC serves?
Minister.
You, Honorable Chair. So as I said, it was by phone, and it's done using standard industry methodology.
Member.
Well, I mean, there's lots of things we could get into there, but as to, you know, within the plus or minus the standard deviation and all of that. But I was actually asking as well, though, just in terms of the, what does that hard number represent in terms of the universe for whom ICBC serves? So we're talking about the number of insured, for example, whatever the denominator is that the pool of individual British Columbians that ICBC through Ipsos or whoever they're using is actually surveying.
Minister. Thank you, Honorable Chair. So it is done on the universe of the of ICBC policyholders, which is a pretty significant number. And in case the member is going to go where I think he's going to go with his next question, which is, well, that's actually a very small segment of the number. I would remind him that both his political party and my political party, we live and die by polling sample sizes when they come out of 700 or 1,500 sample sizes with the standard deviations.
Member.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I didn't actually intend to get into this benchmark, so to speak, or this point of reference in this level of detail. But I do think as we go forward, apart from financial matters, cost matters, benefit payouts, some sort of description of customer satisfaction, if that's the right words to be using here in this context, that we know, of course, as we look at the performance of the organization, that there ought to be measures that ICBC leadership is reporting on to the minister and to government. That is an area that if we had time, we might pursue, but we'll see near the end of the time here that the member from Surrey Right Work might choose to use some time on that. But let me just go back again to the concerns with respect to expressed by Ms. Tanya Wong. I wanted to go back to the fact that really what her concern has been is that she's faced with, like so many British Columbians, over 200 pages of densely written ICBC regulations that injured British Columbians need to navigate through just to simply understand what benefits they're actually entitled to following a motor vehicle accident. In her case, she called dealing with ICBC a bureaucratic nightmare, as I said yesterday. So as another example, though, someone who is a registered nurse, Jan Brady Giles from Terrace, BC, she has also shared her story through the media where she was T-boned by a negligent driver. She suffered a significant traumatic brain injury, which affected her ability to speak and read. She had experiences with serious issues with balance, nausea, and headaches. So clearly she was completely disabled from the workplace. And her experience in dealing with ICBC under its no-fault system has been a complete challenge. She has had significant difficulty trying to navigate through the complex and dense set of regulations. So my question through you, Mr. Chair, to the Minister is, if it is such a challenge for a registered nurse who has experience in the medical field to navigate through this government's no-fault system, what opportunity does someone who has a non-medical, non-health background have in order to get the kind of medical health, mental health supports that are needed?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I thank the member for the question. And I think one of the important issues, one of the important points to make is that when enhanced care was designed, it was designed in consultation and working with disability groups. So being able to deal with people who suffer, traumatic injuries and brain injuries and those kinds of things. That's why we have senior recovery experts to assist people, as the individuals as the member has been raising, to be able to get through the system in terms of the kinds of benefits that they are getting by working with their medical team and helping them through the system to be able to access the benefits. And we do that on an ongoing basis in terms of in looking at how we improve the system as well. And a big part of that work is by working with disability groups who have been supportive of the enhanced care system.
Member.
Mr. Chair, the minister has introduced in response another topic which I was intending to raise, and I've had similar concerns expressed to me as the member from Surrey White Rock has from brain injury and other complex care victims of motor vehicle accidents. And we know that, of course, there is a history to this where, and I've had much opportunity to speak to this in the House, where the minor injury definition was expanded despite the Premier's promises to the same brain injury and complex head injury stakeholder representative groups in our province. That change was made subsequent when the minister responsible for ICBC, as he was back in the day, fully understood, as advised by the ministry through FOI documents, clearly understood that. But let me say though, when we look at another example, Fernand Chimanian, who is a British Columbian who suffered a brain injury. This is a specific example that was shared with me by the Brain Injury Association of British Columbia. This individual suffered a brain injury in a car accident under the current government's no-fault insurance system, and the treatment was denied. He had a referral from a medical doctor to get treatment for his brain injury symptoms. However, the treatment was denied by an ICBC adjuster because, among other reasons, the adjuster told this individual that the adjuster had personally experienced his own concussion in the past and had experienced a quick recovery, which for this individual, Mr. Fernand Chimanian, implied to him that the same would be true for him. The adjuster was making a medical determination of a person's concussion condition without turning to the medical team that the minister is referring to for determination. And as a result, this individual has not been able to receive any supported treatment for the last year and a half. His symptoms have worsened to the point where this individual says he has experienced suicidal impulses. This, Mr. Chair, is one of hundreds of examples that we've seen where ICBC adjusters are denying the benefits to British Columbians injured in car crashes. And it's in the context of the 5,000 individuals who responded to this phone survey that I say that, where just as the minister refers to those British Columbians, we see hundreds of examples like this. And so, again, through you, Mr. Chair, to the minister, does the minister have concerns about situations like this where ICBC adjusters are making determinations of a medical or health perspective which provide real challenges for British Columbians to seek the treatment that they need?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question from the member. And I'll make a couple of observations. One, we always want to make sure that ICBC is doing everything that we can to ensure that the system is working for the needs of its customers and its clients. And that's why, in terms of how enhanced care is in place, and as I said, working with disability community and groups to ensure that we have the proper procedures in place. That's why we've got the recovery specialists. There's about 500 of them. 250 of them are senior recovery specialists, the ones who deal with more complex cases. We are always obviously looking to improve the system. It's also why if customers and clients have an issue, there are the processes in place within the legislation, the fairness officer, the civil resolution tribunal, but also just as importantly, when a case like that comes to the member's attention, I think is also to bring it to ICBC directly, so that ICBC may well be dealing with the individual already, given the fact that the member has outlined a particular challenge in this case, or it's an opportunity for ICBC to find out exactly what is, if there is a problem, either with a system, for example, or an individual, and to be able to deal with the situation, because that's one of the key elements, I think, is, if there's a problem, identify it and get it fixed.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the Minister's response in the sense that we all want to make things better. The structural challenge, though, is still there with the system that the Premier has built when he was the minister responsible. We know, of course, under this no-fault system, there is no access outside of ICBC. The minister refers again to the Fairness Commissioner's Office, the CRT, but we also know, in terms of the earlier statistics that the minister was able to share with us, that there's very few individuals that actually utilize those areas. So we of course, in our roles, hear from organizations like the BC Brain Injury Society and the member organizations in Victoria and in Cowichan. They have very active organizations that the minister, I'm sure, knows in the Duncan area and here in Victoria, and hopefully has taken the opportunity to hear them. This is certainly one of the examples they provided to us, and I'm sure that individual is trying to pursue greater recourse through the internal system of ICBC. But I would say, again, the many months of challenge is a concern in terms of getting the kind of care that individual needs in a more near-term basis. I referred to another individual yesterday near the end when the chair allowed me to have a quick question at the very end. And this relates to, I didn't name the individual, but the person is named Mr. Zalau He. This is the person in North Vancouver who is currently still in a long-term care facility away from his family. I was raising that example again to indicate that this individual has no real access to deal with what has been a determination by ICBC that because the individuals, because it's cheaper to have the individual live in the old age care facility or the long-term care facility far away from his family, that this individual is separate from his family. So this is the concern that I raised yesterday, and certainly this is the issue where with ICBC adjusters being the only adjudicator to determine when benefits are paid out, it's the reason why we've seen other instances for fairly high-profile individual, Tim Schober, who here is on the island, and he, as a cyclist, was hit while cycling, and someone who is a lawyer who's now facing daily challenges with mobility and personal care. He has launched a constitutional challenge, of course, to the no-fault insurance model. I would just say that, through you, Mr. Chair, to the Minister, that we are seeing repeatedly now more and more instances where British Columbians are really struggling with getting the access to the kind of care they need under this ICBC no-fault model. For this one particular juncture, before I turn it back over to the member for Surrey White Rock, is the Minister satisfied in the way that the current Fairness Commissioner Office is working in the CRT, that when an individual has a concern and a challenge with the way that ICBC has been assessing individuals' access to benefits, that there is a timely way in which that concern or dispute can be dealt with? And if that's the case, can the Minister share with us what is the time frame in which a typical complaint to the Fairness Commissioner or a CRT process is actually gone through from dispute to decision?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question from the member. So obviously, the amount of time depends on the nature of the issue, the complaint that's being dealt with. And so the Fairness Commissioner would obviously be gathering information, doing an investigation, and as I said, obviously depends on the complexity. The average time is about 2 months. Some are a bit less than that, some maybe a little bit more, but he tries to be as timely as possible. And the other thing I think it's important to point out too about the Fairness Commissioner, and in terms of the issues the members raising, is that it is an OIC, an Order in Council appointment. It does not report it to ICBC itself. It reports to the board of ICBC, and it also provides an annual report, which is tabled in the legislature and is public.
Member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I referenced this earlier, and I'll do it one more time because this is kind of a common sense theme, I would think, I would hope. December 3rd, car goes through a four-way stop in White Rock into a seniors complex. Bottom floor unit, takes out the living room. Gentleman goes to his Legion to throw darts. Right? That's how he's spending his night. He comes home. Police, fire trucks, ambulance are there. There is a car where his living room is supposed to be. Okay? So not a great situation. Unfortunately, I don't believe the driver sustained injuries, but and luckily this gentleman was at the Legion and he wasn't at home at the time of the accident. Fast forward to January 23rd, when the gentleman and the Strata had put forward all the bills that would be required. This building was built in 1986. Put forward the bills, the assessment. ICBC came back to him. There was a differential of $6,000, and I've seen this. I've spoken on it publicly. There was a $6,000 differential. ICBC responded back that 30% of that was calculated for depreciation of that particular unit. So, guy goes to the Legion to throw darts, comes home, car in his living room, gets the bills, works with the Strata, submits to ICBC. There's a $6,000 difference based on depreciation. And the other comment back, which I did see, was you should also see if your Strata will offset that that cost, which, by the way, the Strata would have to pay a $15,000 deductible. How does that make any sense that what I just outlined there, this guy just, when I actually did the global interview or CTV interviews, I was standing in glass still from an accident that had happened almost a month prior. So in the minister's mind, does he think that that's a system that works? When a gentleman goes to the Legion, comes back, car in living room, and then they're told we're going to take off 30% because of depreciation of his unit.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I thank the member for the question. And No, I mean, I can certainly understand the frustration of the individual. I mean, I'd be pretty devastated too if I went out and played darts and come home and there's a car in my unit and everything that goes along with that now that you got insurance and all those things to deal with, especially in a strata. But I'll make two observations. First, this has nothing to do with enhanced care or the change or the move to enhanced care. This is these kinds of situations are what prior to enhanced care, when in the 80s and the 90s and now, this is the standard system that is in place when it comes to these kinds of accidents with insurance. And ICBC is one potential source in terms of, as the members outlined. The other is individual homeowner insurance. And again, that depends on, what kind of deductible that you have on that, all of those different factors. This is it is not a good situation for the individual. I totally understand that, but it's not something that's related to enhanced care. It is the standard operating policy that ICBC has had, and in fact, the general insurance has had for dealing with these kinds of accidents for decades.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll take the minister's remarks there. I understand. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But it is a frustrating situation, and this is especially for the senior involved. Moving on now to operating expenses. And again, I'll do similar to what I did before, is just get these numbers confirmed just in the interest of time. And I think this will be a little bit easier to do. 2018, ICBC's core operating expenses, I have approximately 800 million. 2019, I have 878 million. 2020, I have 837 million. Would those numbers be accurate?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So for 2018, 2019, 800 million. 2019, 2020, 878 million. And 2020, 2021, 837 million.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll go from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Can the minister outline ICBC's total employee compensation for each of the years that I've just referenced?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So for 2018-19, 418 million. For 2019-2020, 451 million. And for 2020-2021, 445 million.
Member.
Thank you. So for 2021, can the minister outline how many ICBC employees earned over $100,000?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. 700 and for 2020, 2021, 781 made more than 100,000.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just confirm that was 2021 that the minister just referenced. I got, or is it 2020 or?
Fiscal year 2020, 2021. Yes.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Out of that 781, how many of those were over 150,000?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. 108.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many of those were over 200,000?
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. 24.
Member.
Thank you. And last question, because I'm not good at math, is how many of those are over 300,000?
Honorable
Minister.
Chair. 3.
Member.
Can the minister please provide a baseline for the year prior? So just on those numbers, same question, same series of questions, just for the fiscal year prior.
Minister. Are we looking at 2019, 2020?
Yeah, because you're doing them fiscal.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. So to answer the member's question for the years 2019, fiscal year 2019-2020, the number of people making more than 100,000 was 668. The number of people making more than 150,000 was 96. The number of people making more than 200,000 was 29. And the number of people making more than 300,000 was 7.
Member.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the Minister for that. So when we go back and look, and we've talked about the fact is that in 2021, again, claims are at average claim $3,083, right? Year prior, $5,009. Prior to that, $6,483. Prior to that, $6,812. Okay, we've gone through that. I think the minister's going to confirm or table those numbers at a later date, but those are my numbers. When we look at what we're seeing from ICBC's overall operating costs, it's gone up. Not marginally, it's gone up dramatically. So you can come to the conclusion that benefits are down to those injured in accidents. Operating costs are dramatically up. Those are the numbers that I see, and those are the numbers that the minister's outlined. So you've got now, for the fiscal 2020-2021, 781 people making over $100,000. You've got 108 making over $150,000. 2019, 2020, that number for making over $100,000 was, I believe the minister said it was 668. So when I tell the story about the guy going to the Legion throwing darts, and we have a $6,000 discrepancy based on the depreciation of his unit, and the more tragic stories that have been outlined by my colleague for Vancouver Langara, I think that there's a gap of there's a significant gulf in terms of where the money is going. Is it going towards the people that need it? Is it going towards the people that are injured, that are concussion, brain injury, other items that's been outlined by my colleague for Vancouver Langara? Or is it going to employees? Because when you draw the comparison here and you look at it, 781, fiscal 2020, 2021. Year prior, 668. So it's trending up, while benefits are trending down. So the costs being saved are actually going towards employees. That's the numbers that are clear to me, and does the minister have any discrepancies with the numbers that I've just tabled?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question and the comments from the member, but I just have to say, that's just simply not true. It's just not the case. Total compensation. So let's start with operating costs. In 2019-2020, it's 878. Next fiscal year, it's down, Honourable Speaker. It's gone down. And then when it comes to salary costs, again, from 451 to 445, that's gone down. The reality is the men and women who work at ICBC do an incredible job for people. And they have undertaken a significant change in the organization from a tort-based system that had high insurance premiums for people, that saw, caps on certain kinds of benefits, people having to wait. And then when they did get a settlement, a third is going to legal fees. And now those same individuals have transferred and made an enhanced care system that has benefits for as long as you need it, that has brought in place lower insurance rates. And so to somehow say that those hardworking employees are getting excessive pay at the expense of policyholders and the benefits they receive is simply not the case. So that's all I can say at this point.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't agree, and the numbers prove out why I don't. Benefits are down. That is the number. Employees are up. Employees making over $100,000 are up. Employees making over $150,000 are up. Okay, so it shows that if you are in 2021 injured and the average claim is just over $3,000. The number of employees have increased. The number of employees making over six figures has increased. I don't know what we're going back and forth on, because those are the numbers. Those are the numbers the minister has tabled. Okay, so that is why there is so maybe is the minister saying that he is like is the minister trying to say that the path forward for ICBC is more employees making over $100,000?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The path for ICBC is to deliver good service. The path for ICBC is to have the best organization forward. The path for ICBC is to treat its employees who work extremely hard fairly. The path for ICBC is to provide the best benefits that they can to its customers. The path forward for ICBC is to continue to provide lower insurance rates than what they experienced under the old system, where they were subject to rate increase after rate increase after rate increase. And when there was settlements, more than a third would go into the pockets of lawyers and they wouldn't see it. The path forward for ICBC is, I'd like to see more rebates, if that were possible. Now, they may not want to hear me say that, but it was, I think their customer base appreciated that. And the path forward for ICBC is to remain a public auto insurance that works on behalf of the people of this province and provides affordable insurance and the care and benefits for the life, for as long as they need it, when they know when they're injured. That's the path forward for ICBC.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the minister's conviction and on that, but if the minister is so confident in the economic structure that is currently at ICBC, and we've seen cracks in that structure financially, that's been publicly reported. So just a very simple question to the minister is, when the minister and the premier spoke about rates in the fall. What was the rationale for bypassing BCUC?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We didn't bypass the BCUC. We have a filing with them right now as we speak.
Member for Vancouver Langara.
Well, I just to clarify, though, there was a direction given by government in terms of rates to BCIUC. Is that not correct?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The only direction was the rates can't go below zero.
Member.
Well, Mr. Chair, just before we go back to topics about regulatory oversight and the direction that was there, but let me just go back to points that we were making yesterday and into today. We've seen the number of new injury claims, as the Minister has said, go from 60,000 to 73,000 new injury claims last year. The Minister has talked about the ongoing nature, let's say, of the adjuster's role in terms of administering benefits and really being the determining person or individual as to what access British Columbians have to those benefits as they continue to recover, in some cases through the rest of their lives, dependent on that ICBC adjuster. So can we ask through you, Mr. Chair, to the Minister, what is the in terms of the head count on adjusters that is projected for ICBC, can the Minister refer to the number that was there previous to when no fault was implemented in the first year, in the second year, and what is to come in terms of the number of adjusters that ICBC requires for its no fault model?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I thank the member for the question. So I'll make the following points. So yes, there are still adjusters in the system, but they are primarily now dealing with the tail end of the tort system claims. In going to enhanced care, if someone is injured, they will be seeing they'll see a claims recovery specialist, of which there are about 500, and those claims recovery specialists work with the care team. That's like the doctors, physio, chiro, whatever the kind of care that the claimant, the individual needs, and they determine what. Together, or they determine the services that are needed, and it's the claims recovery specialist that's now the individual, and the adjusters are primarily dealing with the tail end of the tort system.
Member.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Has there been reduction then in the number of adjusters as those historic claims decline? And are those 500 new employees then for ICBC the claims recovery specialists?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I think one of the important things about the transition was the training that took place in terms of people who previously had been doing adjusting and then were trained and transferred to become claims recovery specialists as well. New people would also be hired as well, because there is obviously turnover and people retire and all of those things. But there are still some adjusters there, and they, as I said, primarily deal with the tail end of the tort system.
Member.
Chair, so when we're talking about the body of employees of ICBC that are helping, in the words the minister would say, individuals deal with getting the benefits and recovery path that they need, has there been then any increase in the number of employees between the system that was in place before no fault came into place and the first year, the second year, and the year to come?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. So in 2019-2020, claims injury legal, 1,499 employees. In 2020-2021, claims injury legal, 1,515, a difference of 16.
Member.
So as we see, again, the number of new injury claims increasing by 15%, And as the dependency on adjusters and claims recovery specialists increase in volume, does that mean ICBC sees no need to increase the number of employees to service British Columbians?
Minister.
Thanks, Honourable Chair, and I appreciate the question. And the reality is, it is the transition from a tort-based system to the enhanced care-based system that's taking place. And as you go down with the legal employees, and the system adjusts to moving to a completely enhanced care system. And I'd also add, in the case of the numbers there, you did have an issue in terms of COVID as well. So, there's fewer dependency on legal resources, and you see increased focus on the enhanced care resources.
Member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The minister a few moments ago referenced BCUC application. That was, did the minister say that application was open? Was that?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. They have given an interim ruling in terms of 0 and 0, but they have not given final approval yet.
Member.
Thank you. Does the minister have an expectation on when that final approval may be coming?
Minister.
Thanks, Honourable Chair. It really is up to the BCUC, and so they'll be doing final arguments, and so we're probably looking at the next 2 to 3 months.
Member.
Thank you. I believe that when the minister and the premier spoke about rates and did that announcement, I think it was December. I think 2 weeks prior to that, it was shown that there was a $625 million decline in terms of ICBC's bottom line. I think at the time the then CEO talked about a decline in investment revenue. So I guess my question would be to the minister: has the investment revenue has it improved substantially?
My own statement that I get monthly shows that they have
Minister.
as well. Thank you, Honourable Chair. So the year end's still coming in, but I can tell you that those numbers have turned around. But by how much yet? That I cannot do.
Member.
Thank you. Just going back to a previous question in terms of forecasting, when we look at the operational expenses that ICBC has from the year 2020, so for the fiscal, so using fiscal 2020, 2021, is ICBC projected to be under the current operating expenses that it has for 2020, 2021 for this current fiscal year, so projected?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I won't know the final numbers until the book's closed, and the books have not closed yet.
Member.
Okay, but I'm asking specifically on trend. Is it trending to exceed the year prior, or is it trending to be below that?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. As I said, the books haven't closed, but what I can tell the members is we do have a service plan. We do have targets, and we are hoping to meet those targets.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously, the past CEO, I think, departed ICBC in February to move on then to BC Ferries. Just with that departure, I'm pretty sure I probably know the answer to this, but just going to put it on the record anyways. Was there any severance paid out for that individual? Was there any bonuses paid out for that individual at that time when that individual departed? I believe it to be February of this year.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. No severances, no bonuses, and the full executive compensation is released publicly every year.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just going to switch really quickly to the actual ICBC facility in North Vancouver. So can the minister just outline what is budgeted for upgrades to that specific facility?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. There are no significant maintenance or improvements planned for the building, other than the standard maintenance that you would be doing through the course of a year.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think we can probably conclude there, if that's okay. I want to thank the staff, and I hope nobody's missed a flight or anything like that to get back home to family. Are you okay? Well, then are you okay? I'm serious about that. That's important. So I appreciate the time with staff. I will say this as people pack up and leave, and that's totally, it will not be offended as that happens while I speak, because if they do have a flight to catch or a ferry, then that's they should get on their way. But what I've seen here and what I've put forward to the minister is, again, seen operating costs go up. Kind of getting the sense that that's still continuing to go up, and we'll see that when the numbers are tabled. But overall compensation to people that have been injured have gone down. Not just down marginally, they've gone down dramatically. And I think that there's a disconnect there. We've outlined different cases, whether it's brain trauma, whether it's property damage, in terms of ICBC, and I think that's been a public struggle. But this is a portfolio that I do look forward to closely working with the minister on, and I want to thank him, and I want to thank his staff for taking the time today.
Seeing no further questions, I will ask if the minister would like to make any closing remarks.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the opposition critic for ICBC and his colleague. I want to thank them for their questions. I know we will disagree on a number of the issues, particularly around the enhanced care and the benefits, which are, in my view, and I think show are significantly better than the old system. That ICBC is now an insurance corporation that I said a few moments ago delivers, I think, good service. It has incredible workforce who are dedicated to helping people get the care they need when they need it for as long as they need it, and at the same time ensuring that we have insurance rates that are affordable. Amongst, or if not the lowest, certainly amongst the lowest in the country. And we want to continue doing that. And I want to thank the staff who've been with me, who do an incredible job. And with that, Honourable Chair, I move the committee rise. Oh, no, sorry, I've got to move the vote. I will move I moved the vote at the beginning, so.
Wonderful. Thank you, Minister and members. Seeing no further questions, I'll now call the vote. Shall vote 42 pass. Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you, members. And now I recognize the minister move the next vote.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move the committee rise, report the estimates of the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General complete.
Thank you, Minister. You've all heard the question. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you, members. This committee now stands adjourned.